That video that's had, not that I'm counting, 163 million views.
Wow.
Last time I checked, 5 minutes ago. I'm joking. It's that took me like 20 minutes to make.
I'm joined on the UK Drum Show official podcast by Tom Howarth. How are you?
Yay! I'm good, thanks, mate. You?
I'm delicious. Thank you for coming on the UK Drum Show official podcast. Your growth as a drummer has been staggering over the last few years, really. Let's talk about those viral beats. You've had hundreds of millions of views online at your content. When you hit post on a video, can you usually tell if it's going to blow up or if it's going to be a flop or if it's going to be a surprise? How does that work? Because overnight, I feel like you just got to like 300,000 followers on Instagram. That's crazy.
Yeah, I really wish I did know if something was going to hit or miss. It's such a hard world out there. I don't like blaming the algorithms. Like I do think it's a content thing. You know, you do have to be mindful of whether your content, sorry, is going to hit people, and you know whether they're going to like it and share it and comment on it and all that. So yeah, I don't know. Yeah, and it's really frustrating because sometimes I'll be like, oh my, this is gonna be the next big thing. Like people are going to go nuts for this. Like it's taken me like a week to think of this new concept that I could, film and put out there and all that. And it's like, I'm not, 20,000 views is great, but it's just like, oh man, I wanted that to hit 1 million or 500,000 or something. But what's amazing about, social media is we've all got terrible attention spans. So if something doesn't hit, try again in another sort of 6 weeks, another 12 weeks or something, watermark it like, hey, like here's the throwback to an idea I had a couple of, months ago or whatever, especially now when I'm in, like we were just talking about this off air, we're both dads and, they are taking up all, as we're recording this, it's halfway through the summer holidays, counting down to September. And I'm not. They're great fun. They're great fun. I'm very appreciative that you asked me to come on, is all I'm saying. It's yeah. I've got to put out like a few things that I've already done. So yeah, it's sometimes I can sort of tell it's not usually when I hit send. It's usually a hit upload or whatever. It's usually like 10 or 20 minutes after, if people start commenting straight away or sharing straight away, okay, that's going to go out into the algorithm, and more people are going to see it, and yeah, there's no magic formula, is there? It's just, even with, nearly 300,000 followers, obviously there's a much, much higher chance that my content's going to get out to my followers. But, it could still not reach, 10-20% of them, if that makes sense.
I get that. I'm always amazed by your content because not only are you a fabulous drummer, you are a magician with those drumsticks, because some of those stick tricks that you do, man, they're unbelievable. How long does it take you to put together one of those videos where like your stick is like bouncing on the hi-hat or you're throwing things in the air, and because there's got to be your Christmas bloopers reel must be amazing because it must take so long to put those together.
Yeah, sometimes it's so weird because I don't really get that much time to you get the comments like, oh, is that all you do, you spend too long doing this kind of stuff. It's actually no, like, because we'll probably get to it later, but I teach all week, I'm busy. I get one morning a week, usually a Monday morning, to film my content. So I spend most of the week, my head just going, like I'll go for a walk or go for a run and thinking, how can I use that time, that time I've got in here, and I've got a bit, got a couple of hours. And yeah, no, I would say like over the week, I need to think about what I can do next and, how I can make people like view it, especially when, like Evans are now, they're getting me to do videos with, the heads and all that kind of stuff, and then I'm like Don Draper, do you know what I mean? I'm just like in my head, just like, okay, how can we advertise this? How can more people see it? I've got Evans doing this on the line for me, Sometimes though, like that video that's had not that I'm counting, 163 million views.
Wow.
Last time I checked 5 minutes ago. I'm joking. It's that took me like 20 minutes to make. Like, do you know what I mean? I was just like, what do I do? Okay, mo money, no problem. Mo money, no problem. Sorry, let's do that beat with that trick. Let's throw the stick in the air or whatever. And like that, obviously that stuck. That was the one that got me a big load of followers on here and on TikTok. And so yeah, sometimes I'll be, and again, look, going back to the whole upload thing, I'll have like an amazing idea, and I'll be like looking forward to all week uploading that idea and putting it into practice, and it doesn't do as well as something that took me 20 minutes on the spot.
Well, I mean, and you hear that a lot. Mariah Carey wrote "All I Want for Christmas" in 15 minutes. So you never know what's going to be a hit and what's not. But your content aside, I know, are really, really excited to be coming to the UK Drum Show this year between the weekend of the 18th and 19th of October at the ACC Liverpool, which is basically it's the ultimate drummers hang, I think, the UK Drum Show. What are you going to be doing across the weekend, and what can we expect from you?
Right. So as we are recording this, it hasn't been officially announced yet. Hopefully you'll put this out after it's announced.
I might do it before.
Evans. Yeah, why not? Yeah, cause chaos, mate. Why not? Why not? Just go for it. That'll give something to talk about. Hi Tom, how's it going? So Evans and Bob Wynn, who you may know. Bob is an educator from Rotherham, I believe, and oh man, he should be knighted. Like, do you know what I mean? He is, the guy to go to. Every drummer who's a drummer in the UK knows who Bob is. And he's got his own drum school, very successful teacher, educator, runs all sorts. He's an Evans artist and a Promark artist, and they got together and thought, let's do something for the UK show. I've got contacts. I've got contacts. And let's put together a room. So both of them together came up with Education with Evans, hosted by Bob's Drum School. That's the official title. Don't let me say all that again. And basically, it's going to be a pretty cozy room. It's not a broom cupboard, but it's certainly cozy. And it's going to be an artist, an educator, so an artist/educator. And 20 pad stations. So I have one of these. Does you have send us out as a video? Is this pointless me showing you?
I don't know. Show us.
Oh yeah, cool. So you get one of these Evans a tactile real feel pads, and one of these. I brought them to the studio just to show you. They're actually at my house at the minute. Not the kick drum pedal. I don't know what the kick pedal will be, but a kick pad as well. So it'll be like a station and a pair of sticks. And basically, it's going to be a practice pad lesson with an Evans / Promark artist. Mm-hmm. And there's 9 of us, I believe, and we can talk about some of the names in a minute if you're cool with that. And each it's basically going to be an intimate, like 30, I think, minute practice pad lesson, and each artist is going to bring something different to the table. And I think it's an amazing idea, honestly. Like, not just because they booked me to do one of the slots. You know what the UK show's like. It's intense, isn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And I know you're super busy on the main stage. You probably don't see anything but the main stage, and I don't know if you get a chance to.
I honestly try to get out in between, like when they're changing the drums over, and I always try and have it, because the thing that I've seen the thing some people don't know about the UK Drum Show is they'll see sort of the main stage lineup and think, oh, that's it, that's cool. But actually, there's like so many other rooms going on. You've got, for example, the education room that you're going to be obviously at. You've got Mike Dolbear's room, you've got Mike Johnston's room, and yes, you've got this main stage with the sort of 1,500 seats in the auditorium. But also, what you've got is, as you said, you've got these education rooms that range from 10, 20 seats up to 200, 400 seats. So there is so much
Absolutely.
going on that weekend. And if you do want to take a break from watching artists under the spotlight on the main stage, or you want to maybe go, you want to go and ask some questions, because the education rooms are where people can ask questions if they might feel more comfortable doing that in a smaller group. And yeah, it's fantastic.
Yeah, mate, honestly. And I think another reason, Evans and Bob have done this is because they were thinking like, you if you watch like an artist on the main stage, you've got itchy fingers, you're like, I want to try this out. Like, how
Yeah.
do I, I'm just, oh, I've missed what he just said. What was that? A double paradiddle? Whereas you'll be there intimate, sorry, with one of these artists. And what I think is what I love about a practice, and I'm sure you're the same. I'm a massive geek when it comes to like technique, and you want to break down all the ingredients of what
Yeah.
makes a drummer who he or she is, right?
Mm,
And you cannot get more you cannot get more intimate than just a pad where you can
mm,
clearly hear what's going on, and obviously a foot pad as well. Do you know what I mean? And watching, and there's like 20 of you in the room, and it's yeah, I think it's going to be, I think it's a really good idea. And like I say, it is intense, not even just watching the main stage, but just, have you walked down that bottom floor?
yeah, that exhibition center, man, that is it's like NAMM for drums.
Mate, honestly, I went to the UK show a couple of years ago. It was my first time, and I didn't really. So they still do this, right, where it's like 45 minutes, no one's allowed to hit anything, and then like 15 minutes, like
No, I
people
think
can go
I think
nuts.
50 I think 15 minutes is the break. I think it's 45
Oh,
minutes
what?
you can yeah, so the layout of the ACC, and this is super exciting to anyone coming for the first time if they've not seen it before. You've got the bottom of the venue, which is an exhibition space full of all your favorite cymbals, sticks, gear, like everything you could. It's like Christmas for drummers down there. And then you go up this escalator, you've got loads of education rooms, and then you've obviously got the main stage as well. And the great thing is, the drummers who play these gigs for the UK drum show and the Europe drum show, there's no ego. You'll get loads of famous drummers
Oh
just walking
man,
around, grabbing a coffee, taking pictures with people. Nobody's hiding backstage. Everyone's just out and doing it.
yeah. I heard like Bernard Purdie was just walking around last year, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Just like just hanging out, speaking to every single person. And this is one thing I love about the UK. 'Cause again, it was my first experience, and it was overwhelming. Let's just say that for first time coming to it. It's all this stuff going on. But afterwards, like let's just say if you went to say like Comic Con in San Diego, right? You wouldn't go next door to the Pullman and Robert Downey Jr. will be having a pint, like chatting to like. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
I walked into the pub next door, and there's like Jojo Mayer, there's like Ash
Yeah.
Stone,
Yeah.
and and if you and me are I'm sure the same. Like we grew up like idolizing, looking at Modern Drummer, reading
Mm.
Rhythm Magazine, idolizing these drummers like they're Robert Downey Jr. or Tom
Yes.
Holland or whatever. Do you know what I mean? But like because our industry is so amazing, and there's you ask any drummer in the world, they're never going to say, "Oh yeah, I've won. I've won the drums." Like it's like they always know they can grow. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So we've got that kind of insecurity where I'll go to Jojo Mayer and be like, "Mate, can I shake your hand?" And he's like, "Yeah." Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it's like they're so cool, and I just, and that's just, yeah, again, like you say, like you've got these legends just hanging out, chatting, will always give you the time of day, because I feel like everyone there is so appreciative of being there, whether you're a consumer or whether you are an artist or whether you're working backstage or whatever. I just think it's incredible.
Do you think about the fact that the drumming community is like that? Why do you think the drumming community is so special?
Oh man, like I don't want to like. I've been listening to a few past episodes of your podcast, and I don't want to repeat what other artists have said that have chatted to you, but I personally, I think for me, like it's a it's a small industry,
Mhm.
like in comparison to like sport or makeup or or Hollywood, like whatever. Like none of us can really. Everyone knows each other. We
Mm.
can't afford to have egos to begin with. We
Mhm.
we all have to sort of get on and help each other out and all that kind of stuff. Because I think that's one of the reasons. Um, Also, I don't know why drummers just are just nice people. Like we're the ones that have to keep everything going. If the bass player and the guitarist are having a fight, we're the ones that are like, whoa, guys, like, let's. Yeah, I don't know. And a lot of people say that. When I was chatting to, um, I made we were out at dinner with Evans, the time I came to the UK show a couple of years ago, and I was on the Evans table, and I think like it was Remo or something on another table. And have you
Mhm.
seen the movie Anchorman?
Yeah.
Like when the two different like TV stations like meet in the street and they have like a massive fight. I was like, is it going to be like Anchorman? Are we gonna brawl? And he was like, oh mate, like no, he's like my best mate over there. Like he
Yeah.
said like these guys, they don't just A&R drummers, they A&R guitarists and all that
Mm.
kind of stuff. And they didn't say anything awful about guitarists, but he was saying that like this is different. Like
Yeah.
the atmosphere at a UK show, there's just none of that. There's no ego or anything really. And I think that's as drummers, like I say, we always know we can grow. We always know there's something a better way of doing something, or it's just I think that's the reason really.
Think that, and I've said this in previous episodes, I truly believe that the other other musicians in other instruments would love the community that the drummers have. Drummers go on holiday together. They go, as you said, they'll go to the pub next door to the ACC Liverpool and drink with, Kenny Aronoff or Keith
Yeah,
Carlock or something. You stand shoulder to shoulder with somebody who you've idolized in a lift, and they'll just go, "You're right, mate." And there's no, as you say, no ego, and everyone just wants to get on. But bringing it back to you, Tom, what would your advice be for an aspiring drummer that would love to climb the ladder in the way that you have, bearing in mind you have said in this interview it took you 20 minutes to make a video that got 163 million views.
yeah. Well, the stuff I did, definitely didn't take 20. The techniques I used in that video, that was a good few years of working on those tricks and all that kind of stuff. And this is, I don't want to give away too much because this is what I'm going to talk about in my pad lesson.
Mhm.
Is we're going to talk about. So my subject matter is how to stand out above the crowd.
Okay.
So I would say I don't know, man. Just keep trying things because sometimes things don't stick. People will say like, "Why are my videos not getting views?" It's like, well, you've done nothing but Blink-182 covers for the past like 2 years. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if that isn't working for the people on Instagram that you want to see your videos, then try something different. Try something
Mm.
shorter. Look at like I would say, I don't really like to say look at what's trending because to do something that's trending, everyone's doing it.
Yeah.
You need to try and think of a way of starting a new trend. Like George Alistair Pario, he did that big thing where he just did one-handed like insane. He'd be playing like Song for the Deaf, Song for the Deaf, Song for the Dead, Song for the Dead, with like one stick. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And then he would do like Dragon Force one stick,
Mhm.
Gojira one stick. and it's like, and he would do that. He did it first, and he knew it stuck, so he kept with that until I assume it didn't stick, so he stopped doing that. Do you know what I mean? It's one of those things that I would, you need to find something that audiences are going, okay, this is what, this is great, and then so if that means putting something completely different out a couple of times a week, then so be it. People, hundreds of millions of people might see your Blink cover. You know what I mean? You never know. People might like that, but if that's not working, try something like different, and like I say, like algorithms change, trends change, and all that kind of stuff. It can be quite daunting keeping up with all that stuff. Yeah. So, try not to worry about it. And above all, like, just like, this is so cheesy, but just be yourself. Do you know what I mean? Do what you love doing. If you, I grew up, obsessed over like Rodney Mullen, like these flatland skateboarders, right?
Yeah.
Putting tricks together, and seeing like Rodney Mullen do that kind of stuff over, say, Tony Hawk doing a 900 on a vert, very impressive. But like, that's the stuff that stuck with me, and I loved seeing him move those tricks together, and that's kind of where I go with the hi-hat. I'm like, right, okay, how do I flatland skateboard on a hi-hat and a kit, while
that's
keeping a beat as well. Yeah.
Taking the rules of skateboarding and throwing it into drums. That's a very unique approach. Thank you for coming on and making time for us here at the UK Drum Show official podcast. We can't wait to see what you bring to the table over the weekend of the 18th and 19th of October at the ACC Liverpool. My last question before I let you get back to your skateboarding is, what's your legacy? How do you want to be remembered in 100 years?
Oh, mate. You should have emailed me ahead, mate. That's.
But it gets the most interesting response if I don't.
How do I want? Yeah, of course. How do I want to? Did you watch The Office?
Yes.
The last words David Brent said was like to put a smile on everyone's face or something. So I'm not going to put a David Brent quote in.
David Brent is my hero outside music.
What did he say? The man who put a smile on his face to everyone he met, I believe, was what he responded with.
I mean, he also said that a good idea is a good idea forever. So
yeah. To be fair, yeah. Oh man, I think like, and again, this is the cheesy thing is, there's my social media like persona, and there's like me. Like I say, I teach drums all week. We don't do stick tricks in the lessons. Like, sometimes a student will come along and say, how did you do that thing you did? How, or it'll be like Christmas, and I'm like, let's do something different, and we'll learn a stick trick. I would say that, like, you remember your good teachers growing up, don't you? Like, they will always stick with you, and I don't know how it'll last for 100 years. Technology now, a lot of the kids that I teach that are 7 years old might live to 150. Who knows? But I want to be, I would say I like to be remembered as a special figure in people's lives. Do you know what I mean? Because as drummers, we know that. I mean, I've got some super kids that can do maths, English, science, and all that kind of stuff. But a big percentage of the kids I teach, they're academically not great at other things that society wants them to be good at. Do you know what I mean?
Yes.
And to come into this room and do something and be good at something and feel like they've achieved something is huge to me. So I'd say that that was a very weird, long-winded answer. I wish I could give you a sentence. All right. Okay, no. I wish to be remembered as the multi-millionaire, 6-mansion owning, yacht. Like, I don't know. Like, I'm just trying to get all these things that might happen to me in the next 10 years or whatever. Like that ultra billionaire Tom Howard. That's how I want to be remembered. Great.
Thank you. Thank you for coming on. It's been an absolute pleasure, and we will see you in October. And best of luck with your teaching, with your social media, but most importantly, obviously, with the continued growth of your drumming.
Thank you so much, buddy. Thank you for having me. Very much appreciated. Thank you.